Welcome to All Things Marketing Podcast, the podcast that talks all things marketing for both franchise and multi-location marketing leaders. ATM is brought to you by PureDriven. We'll show you how to turn your brand into a money-making machine. Here's your host, Steve Rockwood.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to ATM. My name is Steve Rockwood, and I'm the marketing manager at PureDriven. Today, we are going to talk about marketing with no money. I am joined by my co-host, Chris Swanson, the CEO at PureDriven, as well as the head of franchise development. Chris, how are you doing today?
Steve, I am doing amazing. Just had some great things happen in the last week. And as always, it's just so fun to get together with you and do these podcasts. So things are going great.
I'm glad to hear it. These are always a treat every week that we get to do these. Let's just start off right away here. Marketing with no money. My first question for you is can you tell us about organic social media marketing?
Yeah, so I tell you what, I love organic social media marketing. As we know, it's changed, and it's much different than it used to be. Every time a channel like a Facebook or a brand launches their product, it really is interesting because initially they start out organically. You can do a ton, and then basically what happens is they start their advertising platform.
Yes, they do.
and they start making money, which is wonderful for them. It gives us an opportunity as well. But if you're trying to do things organically, it creates that unique problem because the next thing, Steve, as you know, as the audience knows, the algorithm starts saying less traction with organic. And one of the experiences that I had of many experiences around this that's fun to talk about is Destination Duluth. Some of you know where Duluth, Minnesota is. Beautiful town located right on the shores of Lake Superior, right where this Lake Superior comes to a point. And that is a kind of a place where a lot of people love to visit and tourists come. It's also one of the industrial towns. Right, the Iron Range is just adjacent to it. Minnesota's Iron Range, so a lot of steel comes through that area. Actually, the product before steel. So what's really interesting is we got together with a group of people and realized that Duluth had a very strong brand, and yet at the same time wasn't being talked about in an organized fashion. So we formed Destination Duluth, and what we found is that you can take just about anything that doesn't have something largely organized around it that has recognition that people enjoy, and you can really use it as a way to tell a story. To date, we know that over 250 photographers, videographers have launched their careers because of Destination Duluth. They go out and do landscape photos with a beautiful, shots of Lake Superior and this whole region, which is absolutely beautiful. And in doing that, what happens is those photos go out onto social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can go check all those out. And what starts happening is people start following and sharing. And no matter what the social platforms know, that no matter what they're trying to shut down algorithm-wise, they have to allow the sharing to kick in. And so some people argue whether, if you share it once, is it going to go to a second degree and so on. But what we do know is that the more things get shared, the more content is engaged early on in those posts, the further they can go from a viral standpoint. So we literally have, I think, approximately 140,000 followers on Facebook, for example. It's not uncommon for us to get thousands of likes, comments, and shares. People are sharing those things. That goes out to other people. The brand is being talked about. And that's been done virtually with very little advertising dollars.
It has. It's been a lot of work by a lot of different people.
Well, and that's what's great about it, though, too, is if you associate with something that people really get excited about, you're going to get a lot of evangelists and influencers that are going to jump on board as well. And they're going to feel pretty safe to share that and kind of get that information out. So it just multiplies. And the valuable lesson, if you're a multi-store location owner and you're trying to figure things out, or if you're a brand, is to really think about how can I use organic in a way where it engages people, where they want to share it. And I know this is a simple concept, and people say, wow, of course, that's what we're always trying to do. But what we've noticed is that if you start telling people to take an action, or you get salesy within your post, you're not going to get as much engagement if you get creative and you do something fun. And so many times I talk to retailers who don't want to get creative. And it's important, if you're a brand, to support your location stores, your locations at each level, but make sure that you're providing them fun content. Help and teach them that they can as well produce the content. Let the people in the store shoot the photos and do things on their smartphones. Let them have fun with it. You might find that creative person that gets really excited about doing it, and they're going to do a great job for you. What we find typically, though, is that if you're a store manager, owner, you're a general manager, it doesn't matter who you are, you're busy. You're doing so many different things. So if you can't do it and you're not making consistent posts, the algorithms, they punish you. And what ultimately happens if they're punishing you is they drop you out, so that you're not going to get in front of enough people to actually get any sort of a viral approach to your post.
Definitely. Well, thank you for that answer, Chris. That was a lot of information, so that was very good. I will make sure to transcribe that so people can look back on it in text form as well. My second question for you on this topic is, that was the social media side. So how can you use your website for marketing without a budget? What kind of purpose can your website hold for your business?
Yeah, it's so fun nowadays. I mean, marketing in the past used to be very one-dimensional, in that you just went to television, radio, newspaper. You had kind of very few outlets, channels that you could get your message out across. Now, of course, you have social and digital, and there's so many different things. Websites, in my estimation, are alive and well, because a lot of the algorithms still depend on knowing that you're real through your website content. But I can tell you there's a lot of great tools out there that will make you look like a great website developer, with some great photography, which you can do your own. It is very easy now to shoot your own photography. I always recommend to people they get a professional to do it, because usually what happens is that's a point where somebody stops doing the project, and we want the projects to be finished in terms of developing their website. But you can shoot your own photos if that's something you like. You can do a great job at it with all the tools that are available. The apps are available on your smartphone if you have a digital camera. And then from there, there's tools like Wix. GoDaddy has GoCentral. There's so many Squarespace. There's so many different web development tools that you can use. Now, you asked a question about, how can you do this without any money? Well, I tell you what, it's interesting, because you're going to still spend, $10, $20 a month, whatever it might be, but know that that's so inexpensive compared to what it used to take to develop a website. The other thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of widgets out there that are free. So things like collecting people's emails on a form, making sure that people stay informed of what you're doing. One of the things that still is very successful, people will sign up for a newsletter if it pops up, for an email if it pops up on the page. So look for those kinds of widgets that are willing to get information from people. Those widgets are typically very inexpensive. A lot of times it's a one-time cost. Sometimes you pay a small amount on a monthly basis. But Steve, there's so much you can do. So it's very exciting, because there's so many options for you that in the past you couldn't develop that yourself. And so we're kind of entering that new frontier now, where yes, you can do things on your own. Not always wise to, but again, if you need to because of budget and you're growing a brand or doing something, that's an option for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Chris. I'm actually going to save my last question here for a different podcast, because I feel like we can probably make 1 or 2 episodes on top of this one on this same topic. So I think I'm going to save that for a different episode, and let's just continue this one later. So is there anything, anything else on there?
I mean, anytime you're talking about this kind of stuff, it's exciting because it's helping people realize that it can be empowered. And so there's a lot of great discussion around it. So I understand, and I look forward to talking about this on future podcasts.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, that's all we have time for today, everybody. Thank you for joining me as always, Chris. It's always a huge honor to have you on here. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast. We'll catch you here next time on ATM.
You just listened to All Things Marketing Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch every new episode every day. Want to be a guest on the show? Sign up at puredriven.com/guest. See you tomorrow here at the ATM.